I assume, as we sit down here in Hollywood and join the team of people who are exhausted right now because they've been churning through a football Monday and they had God bless football. I imagine they've spent the last 3 or 4 hours complaining about officiating, which is what Mondays throughout the land are throughout football. But I wanted to talk to Stugotz, even though I love that last night we saw two very good football teams play each other. The Miami Dolphins are not healthy. And I love that for all their scheming and genius and fast people running and in motion, they get beat by the Eagles just beer bellying you to death for a yard at a time with a play no one can stop, and that they're going to cancel after the season because they play football a little too well. And now you got Joe Shad and a bunch of others saying that's not football. But I wanted to bring in Mike Ryan and Lucy on college football because Mike Ryan has been dying for 48 hours to talk about Reuben Bain, and Lucy has been dying for that long to talk about Iowa, Minnesota football. That total, Stugotz, was 30.5 before the game.
Yep.
Lowest I've ever seen, 30.5,
Yes.
and it was a 12-10 football game. But let Mike start with Reuben Bain because he says it's the best defensive performance he's ever seen.
The representative from Kendall, Florida would like to cede his time to talk Iowa because I am on – Lucy made a full presentation. I saw an alternate angle, and I'm pretty sure that dude from Iowa was calling for a block.
This, moving your arm back and forth, is different than this. It's very different. That was a bad call. I'm upset by the call. But also at the same time, if you have 2 yards of offense and a half, it's kind of your own fault. It's kind of on you.
So Lucy informed me something that I wasn't aware of because I thought that the game was essentially decided on that call. But Iowa had the ball with how much time left and how much further to go?
Iowa was down by 2. They needed 20 yards to go, and they had about 2 minutes. And they went incomplete pass, sack, interception. And the game was over, and we lost. And it was funny and sad all at the same time.
Stugotz, did you guys spend any time talking Iowa football today? Lucy, have you ever seen this bag that Lucy
No.
Lucy painted her purse here? It's Frank Beamer at the end of a 0-0 tie against Wake Forest, running off of the field with his arms up in the air. Did you guys talk at all about Iowa, Minnesota? Why would you have talked at all about Iowa, Minnesota?
We did. We played the sound of Lucy's reaction
Let's
at
play
the
it again.
USC tailgate. We'll play it for you right here. Here is her experiencing what happened in Iowa.
No! Oh, my God!
That's it.
That's the extent of the conversation. And if the over-under was set the last 2 weeks at 24.5 points for Iowa, the over-under, both games would have went under. I mean,
Sounds like a challenge. Sounds like an opportunity.
24.5.
What was your experience watching Mississippi State, Arkansas?
It was the exact same as what I'm used to, and I was out on the West Coast, and it was the perfect thing to watch at 9 in the morning.
A 7-3 ball game?
It was
Did you have
absolutely
7-3 envy?
perfect. Yeah, I mean, Iowa, 10 points. Let's slow it down a little bit. We're moving too fast. We had a completed pass on the first drive. I was like, what is going on here? This is weird.
The way that she just explained that, though, people think that because he ran a punt back for a touchdown and they miscalled it a fair catch, that call ended the game. And what she's saying is the fair catch put the ball at the 40. They only had to get 20 more yards and a field goal in order to beat a Minnesota team they were favored against, and it's impossible because they were going backward. Let me go back though for a second. Chris Cody, do you now have had the Dolphins handed down to you from father to son? It is the team that you care about the most. It's the team that's been in your family home for the longest. When you watch last night's game, is this the first time headed into November and December that even though you lose, you can shrug your shoulders and say, yeah, I know we're good. I know our team is good. And losing to the Eagles on the road, when you have that penalty disadvantage, when you have one play where Mostert is getting thrown a ball and Waddle's not supposed to be over there, they just screwed it up. And you just get beat by a Philadelphia team because you're really injured and A.J. Brown is going to torch your secondary when you don't have two of your corners.
I had that perspective for a little bit, and then I was just mad at Brad Allen, the official last night. I mean, this guy, so many missed calls. To your point, Dan, yes. I mean, we did do the show today for a couple hours of just blaming the refs, but it is a good feeling. I was able to lay my head on my pillow last night with the perspective of 5-2. And this is the best Dolphins team I've seen ever, even with that loss. So, I mean, we were doing the thing earlier. Bad losses, is it a good loss? They've lost at Buffalo, at Philly. like some people are going to hold that against them. I think these are two of the best teams in the league, so I think they're right where they should be, and I'm feeling damn good about my Dolphins, Dan. Damn good.
Damn good.
And Billy?
Hey, I'm good. I told Stugotz he didn't believe me that I felt better in yesterday's loss than I did in the Bills' loss. And I didn't want to be like the official person that was blaming the referees.
But then
the
I
entire
did it.
time.
I was like Brad Allen.
Yeah, I said we shouldn't do that the
Stole
entire
thunder,
day, and then
yeah.
they went and did it the entire day anyways. So
Yeah. How about the Jets, though, Dano? Didn't play. They won the week. I mean, how about that? They won the bye week. We are in it.
You're not in it.
How Patriots was that game? The idea that after everyone is talking about the idea that Belichick is going to be somebody who should be gone at the end of the season,
Right.
because he's not going to be able to fix that. All of a sudden, when the Dolphins are losing that game, you're still atop a division because the Bills can't win a game that they're supposed to win up there.
Yeah, it's weird. Dan, you will love this because this is how we do it, right? This is how the media does it. So today, one of the questions on First Take was, have we been too harsh on Mac Jones?
Wow. Dan, have we?
One game, one win, and Mac Jones is back. I mean,
that is how we do it.
It
in
is,
sport,
of
isn't
course,
it?
yeah.
But the thing I thought about last night is that I don't feel like you watched a whole lot of football yesterday where you knew both of the teams that you're watching are good. Do you feel that? I mean, I saw the most exciting of the game of the day was the Browns and the Colts, and everybody after one of those games, it seems like there are 6 games you could point to a call in, and that's the reason it gets decided. I know in Indianapolis they're complaining today about everything that happened toward the end of that game, but the only game I saw yesterday where I knew I was watching, do I have this wrong? Where I knew I was watching 2 good football teams was the Dolphins and the Eagles, and I'm like, yeah, one of these teams is going to lose, and I'm not going to think any less of them.
No, I feel like you're right. The Browns game was interesting in that they scored 39 points with their quarterback throwing for 170 yards. Like it seems impossible, and no touchdown passes. But no, I would say that was the matchup yesterday in which you had 2 good teams.
We thought the Lions-Ravens was going to be 2 good teams.
Right, Lions-Ravens, I guess.
That one's 2 good teams. We still can say
2
that.
good teams. Yeah.
I'm very confused at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know how
I hate them.
Mike Tomlin keeps getting away with this stuff. And maybe you have to classify them as good depending on what your description of good is, because I know what it is when you're talking about the Dolphins-Eagles. Maybe it's time for us to admit that the Steelers might be in that, hey, they're good kind of category, because I really enjoyed watching that game after begging a Los Angeles bartender to put on a local team, because that's the type of football town this place is. But I enjoyed watching Puka Nacua. I thought he had a masterclass performance. And I'm watching the Steelers for most of their drives outside of 2, and I'm like, how is this team even in this game? And then their offense just comes alive at the right moments, and Mike Tomlin does it again. He's got voodoo tricks. I don't understand how this team does it. TJ Watt finds a way to always make an impactful play that turns a loss into a win. I think that they're good. Also, another thing, just jumping on what you were saying about the Browns-Indianapolis game, for me the most interesting thing that came out of that game, outside of Myles Garrett possibly putting himself in the pole position for Defensive Player of the Year, was what's going on with Deshaun Watson? Because he passed concussion protocol, and he was out, and Stefanski said that Watson would have came back in had P.J. Walker got hurt, and in media circles, the general consensus is someone's not being honest with this injury, and it may not be the Browns. How bad is this thing? Is Deshaun Watson carrying a convenient injury because it extends the timeline on which people might critique him? Because look, we've seen a relatively large sample of him not being good. There aren't a lot of good performances there. He had an okay performance against one of the worst secondaries in the league in Tennessee. I'm not so sure he's not going to opt for surgery to try to just extend this grace period that he has.
That's interesting from an intrigue standpoint, but from an excellence standpoint, what Mike just mentioned, Stugotz, about Myles Garrett, there are like 5 guys like this in the league. Watt, Micah Parsons, where I don't have any kind of precedent where I can say to you that I've seen someone who looks like that before. Aaron Donald was the first of these that I'm like, okay, that's never existed before. But even among this group, even with Watt,
Reuben Bain's in there.
What Myles Garrett does, Stugotz, in watching him last week, I've never done this before, where I spend the whole game watching a tackle, Trent Williams. against a defensive end, and it's all I'm watching. And Myles Garrett beat him on 31% of the pass rush attempts, which is the worst thing that Trent Williams has ever allowed, because by consensus, Trent Williams is the best offensive lineman in the sport, and some people make the argument that he's better at football than anyone else is at what they do. And Myles Garrett ate him up, Stugotz, and he's Reggie White, he's passed him earlier for sacks, even though they don't allow you to hit the quarterback the same way, and everyone gets the ball out in 3 seconds. And I'm legitimately asking you, is Myles Garrett a combination of Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor? Because there's never been anyone like this dude.
I think he's probably the best defensive player in the NFL today, but we were laughing. Like, you isolated that matchup. You got the game film, like you were breaking down film.
That's all I was watching.
Really?
Is Trent
It's a weird thing to be watching.
I mean, it's the only thing I cared about.
Games end earlier,
agree,
though. He's got time.
We all agree there's no one like Myles Garrett outside of the other 5 guys that Dan mentioned.
He's better than all of them.
Yeah, well, now Myles
Combined,
Garrett, for one of the first times, he has a really good defensive coordinator, a guy that's been around in the league in a long time and will always get retread and make you laugh, maybe in Jim Schwartz. But now they're doing really creative things with Myles Garrett, lining him up directly under center sometimes. You saw what happens. He blocks the kick, and I still maintain my prediction that there's a greater than 0% chance that Myles Garrett just intercepts a snap this season. He's that good.
Yeah.
He's that fast.
Dan, if you don't mind, Billy and I miss Lucy this morning. She's a regular on the Monday God Bless Football.
I miss you guys.
Which also means we missed our favorite game with Lucy, which is called Lucy or Goosey.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind here as we transition LA, Miami, LA. We have 4 people here, by the way. We can't even field a basketball team. Yeah. I mean, we could not play 5-on-5 right now.
Tony looks bored.
Yeah.
Tony looks like he is so tired of hearing people talk about football.
Yeah.
Never, Dano. Come on, you know that.
Right. But can we do Lucy or Goosey? Do we have your
are we
permission
allowed?
here? Because we missed it. I mean, can we do it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Lucy, here we go. Are you ready for this? Ohio State, big win over Penn State. James Franklin said after the game, I think you just watched the 2 best teams in America play. James, the Stugotz is strong in you. He did say that.
He said that?
Yes, but my question is not about Penn State. My question is Ohio State. Lucy or Goosey, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
What's the question?
If they're Lucy or Goosey.
Yeah, Lucy or
Duh.
Goosey, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Keep up, Chris.
You were on the show last week.
Jeez.
I've never heard someone use that excuse. I should have said that after the Georgia Tech loss. I think we just saw the 2 best teams in the nation play.
I'm going to go, I think they're a good team, but I'm going to say Goosey because the entire time I was watching that game, I had the perspective of a Michigan fan being like, this is going to be so easy. This is going to be a cakewalk for Michigan. I think they'll blow Penn State out. I think they can beat Ohio State really handily. Like, Ohio State is a good team, but it was so clear watching that game that Michigan is light years ahead of both of them. They don't even need to steal signs to beat Ohio State.
Okay. And speaking of signs, Billy has yours, just in
Lucy
case.
or Goosey
Right,
signs,
just so you know. Okay.
Yes, I following at home.
All right, here we go. The Air Force Academy. Lucy or Goosey?
Are they still undefeated?
Yes.
Yeah.
They won this weekend? Then let's go Lucy.
Yeah.
Very
Undefeated?
informed.
Yep.
I'm incredibly informed.
Chris,
You're our college football experts. I mean,
I have been traveling. I'm in Los Angeles right now.
Sorry.
I don't know if you guys watched Iowa, Minnesota. I was preoccupied this weekend.
I'm sorry.
I'm going We'll go Lucy Air Force. They're undefeated. They're a service academy doing that. That's very rare. I think they're moving the ball pretty well. Hell yeah.
All right.
I think.
James Madison.
They're They're in the 20s now, ranking wise.
They are.
I think this game is flawed when
What?
she's
Why?
asking the question of are they undefeated? And
I
she doesn't.
didn't remember if they
doesn't
won
know.
this
They're
weekend.
19. Lucy
I
knows
think they're moving the
19.
ball well.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm confident. Let's talk about James Madison now.
They had Lucy. They had 5 completions for 150 yards.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's my dream.
that puts Iowa firmly in the top 10.
That's great. That's everything I've ever wanted.
All right, James Madison, Lucy or Goosey?
I'm going Lucy. James Madison is so good this year. They were so good last year. We're in this horrible, weird waiting area with James Madison in the NCAA where for some reason it's a very unfair advantage that they're jumping up to a harder division and winning so that they can't compete in the postseason. James Madison is a very good team. I believe they beat every team in Virginia this year. They could be in the ACC. They could win the ACC right
That's
now.
not the flex that we think it is. I think they've beaten every team in
Virginia Tech.
might find its way in the
They
ACC.
might find their way to the ACC
Yeah,
championship
I
game.
think I'm starting to get this game. If I may, can I ask a Lucy or Goosey question?
Yeah, this
Please
game works
do.
better
Yes.
on God
Also,
Bless Football
I'm not
more.
really
It does
waiting
work
around
better.
that James Madison.
Yeah,
thing.
no,
I haven't gotten to
Unwilling
Oklahoma yet, but go ahead, Mike.
participants.
Go ahead, Michael.
All right.
Yeah.
Michigan State's in-stadium entertainment. Lucy or Goosey?
Oh, my God.
I mean, what are we doing there, Mike? Come on.
So Lucy.
Jeez. No, you don't know what
I meant
they did.
Goosey. No, I do.
No,
And I misspoke. I meant Goosey. I meant Goosey.
Stugotz, Goosey.
I know what they did. I meant Goosey. I'm sorry.
What'd they do?
I'm not going to say what they did, okay? Let's
Do
put
you
it
guys
this
want
way.
me to say what they did?
The
No,
zero
I
was
really
not.
don't know what they did.
We're
I
looking
don't know
at it
what
up
That's already
here.
ruined
You don't know
it.
what they did?
Look how happy
Oh, my
Billy is.
goodness.
No,
I'm not
end the
happy.
segment.
Nope.
End the
I'm not
segment.
happy.
The zero was not the most embarrassing thing they put on the scoreboard. Let's just put it that
No.
way.
No.
That why did they pick such a flattering photo of him? That seems like a PR-approved LinkedIn headshot of Hitler. Why did they do? There's just a hard and fast rule: never inject Hitler
Yeah,
into
don't do it.
anything unless you're doing a World War II documentary.
They really, really just went to somebody who was doing the trivia at a bar night and downloaded you had a university president apologizing for something that did not go through any kind of rigorous vetting. I don't know how this ended up on the scoreboard, but I imagine that interview is somebody that we'd want to talk to about, like, how does this end up happening?
This is the same university that right now is dealing with a major scandal of their head coach getting fired for harassing someone who specializes in sexual harassment. And they said, how can we make this situation worse? How can we make this worse?
So,
I wanna
just
know-
to be clear, Goosey.
Very goosey.
I want to know what
Me
the panic.
too.
I want to know what the panic looked like when somebody high up there saw that on the board, and then they're just like running. Wait a minute, what is that? And then they're like sending emails, and it's just. I love the panic.
Do you think Jim Harbaugh on the opposing sideline sees that, fearing all the questions about stealing signs, and sees that and it's like, I think I'm kind of off the hook this week. I don't have to face the hard questions.
I think everyone's off the hook this week.
Yeah. Goosey.
To be clear.
To just be
Very
clear.
goosey.
Big time
Super
Goosey.
goosey. The most goosey I can possibly be.
All right.